This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
WABC New York and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays. It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the news with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Friday, March 28th. Showers this morning. Overcast this afternoon, the high going to be 62. The weekend, it looks like this. So tomorrow is just going to be unbelievable. Sunshine, high 81, and then Sunday we come back to reality, cloudy, high 52. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 45 and cloudy in Islip out on Long Island. It's 43 and partly cloudy in Trenton over in New Jersey. And it's 46 in broken clouds right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Wild stories continue to come out of a New Jersey police precinct. Is there more to the Elise Stefanik story? 911 dispatchers in the city just want some respect. You'll get a treat in the skies if you're up early tomorrow. And spring peepers are being protected in one Long Island town. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. A story from overnight. Crews battling this fast-moving fire at an animal hospital in the Bronx. Fire broke out about 9 o'clock last night. East Kingsbridge Road near Jerome and Morris Avenues. It's in the Fordham section of the borough. FDNY officials say there was a fire on the first floor of this 3-story building, about 20 units, more than 100 firefighters reporting to the scene to help put out the fire in this animal hospital. No human was injured. And what we can tell from watching some of the video, it appears crews were able to get out most or all of the animals safely. We're waiting to get some more information from the FDNY, maybe a press conference later this morning on how this fire started and whether all the animals are okay. The fire was quickly put under control. No word yet on the cause of that. Big day up, of course, in the Bronx. It was opening day, Yankee Stadium. It was a good one for the Yankees. They beat the Brewers 4-2 in a close one. What's the 123rd season for the Bronx Bombers?
Well, I'm so glad to have baseball back in the Bronx.
The new acquisitions to see how it all plans out, how it all works out. We got a good bullpen, we got a good pitching, we'll be all right.
Yeah, so, of course, what Yankee fans are worried about, ace pitcher Garrett Cole recovering from Tommy John. Giancarlo Stanton has been placed on the injured reserve list, but fans optimistic that this year will play out after the Yankees took that tough loss in the World Series Game 5 against the Dodgers last year.
I'm nervous without Cole, but optimistic that the rest of the staff will pick up the slack.
We'll be all right. Get some rest. He'll be ready next year.
It'll be rough, but I think surgeries and rehab have changed a lot in 30 years.
Yeah, there was a nice moment up at Yankee Stadium yesterday. They held a moment of silence for Miller Gardner before opening day. The Yankees honoring Brett Gardner's 14-year-old son who died a week ago today during a family vacation in Costa Rica.
Join the Yankees in a moment of silence as we honor a member of the Yankees family. Miller Gardner, the son of former Yankees outfielder Brett Gardner.
Yeah, and for the team, they said they were playing with a heavy heart as they took the field yesterday, as they remember, Miller Gardner. And then it was play ball, and the fans were ready.
The whole city coming together, you're just happy. It's a chill in the air that I feel like is indescribable. Yeah, it's buzzing.
Is my epiphany to start the summer. And the Yankees are my girlfriend. They never break my heart. I love them.
You got to get out more often.
He took me out of school when I was 7 years old, and we've been coming ever since.
World Series championship. That's it. A title. Title or bust. Hey, yeah. Title or bust.
Yeah, you're right about that. Okay. Juan Soto, of course, making his first appearance with the Mets yesterday in Houston. The Mets lost, and in fact, Juan Soto, what is he getting, $765 million, 12-year deal, he struck out at the end of the game, and the Mets lost the game. Last guy up. So, yeah. More being revealed about the accusations against the North Bergen police chief, who's accused of turning the department into an animal house. I mean, each hour the more stories come out. They're crazy. Now, they haven't been verified yet, but they're all against this chief, Robert Farley. And the 5 officers who are making these accusations want him removed from office.
This wasn't a one-shot deal. These were acts that were performed by the chief law enforcement officer in that municipality for about a year. Okay, over and over again.
Okay, so that is the attorney for these 5 officers. There are all kinds of allegations, including that Chief Farley spiked coffee with Viagra, defecated on the floor of the police house, shaved over workers' desks, inserted an officer with a hypodermic needle through his pants. Now, no criminal charges have been filed just yet. The lawyer representing these 5 officers says he's ready for them to take a lie detector test today to show that they're telling the truth.
I've never seen anything remotely resembling something like this.
Neither have I, for that matter.
I can't think of a word that adequately describes what we've seen in photos and what we're told in this situation. I guess the best we can say is disgusting.
Yeah, so what these officers want is they want the Attorney General to come in and take over the North Bergen Police Department because they say, hey, this is a crazy guy and there's lots of guns around and they need to come in and do that. Now, it is interesting, the leaders of North Bergen who put Farley into his position about a year ago, he worked his way through the ranks, by the way, so he's a known guy in town. They are still standing by him. That was as of last night. Now, as more of these stories come out, maybe that will change. And of course, we'll wait to see what happens with these lie detector tests. If these 5 officers take them and pass them, will that change the mind of some of these people, these leaders in North Bergen who put the chief in office? WABC News Time 508, just getting this into the 77 WABC News Center. A 7.7 magnitude earthquake has rocked Thailand and neighboring Myanmar, causing the collapse of a high-rise building under construction in Bangkok, forcing hundreds of thousands to evacuate from their homes and workplaces. The midday trembler was followed by a strong 6.4 magnitude aftershock. Now, we don't have any word of injuries, deaths, that kind of thing, because it just happened in the last hour or so. Of course, as more information comes in on that earthquake in Thailand, we will pass that on to you. While we're overseas, King Charles briefly hospitalized yesterday due to side effects of his cancer treatment. Britain's ruler has been undergoing treatment since he was diagnosed with an unspecified form of cancer last year. Buckingham Palace says he spent a short time under hospital observation yesterday afternoon, but has since returned home. As a precaution now, though, his engagements today have all been rescheduled. 509. The accidental sharing of the military attack plans, the focus of a hearing. This, of course, all that text chain stuff that happened over the weekend. Correspondent Garrick Hake reports it comes as some lawmakers, both sides raising questions about how a reporter from the Atlantic Monthly was included in a text chain on the app Signal that get all this information on an attack on Houthi rebels.
Calls are growing louder for an independent investigation into the now infamous Signal group chat featuring top Trump administration officials and a magazine editor who was inadvertently included. On Wednesday, The Atlantic released screenshots of the entire days-long group discussion.
Judge James Boasberg ordered the hearing after an advocacy group sued, claiming the department's secretaries and intelligence chiefs ignored federal records law by using the auto-delete feature on the Signal app. Republicans have been downplaying the breach, which saw officials including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the CIA director, along with the director of national intelligence, discussing airstrikes in Yemen.
At 12:15, F-18s launch, the first strike package. At 1:45, strike drones launch. 2:10, more F-18s launch. And writing that 5 minutes later, quote, is when the first bombs will definitely drop. But the messages did not contain any information about specific targets.
Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker, he's a Republican. He wants there to be a deep dive into this. Former Army Black Hawk pilot Bradley Bowman, who has been a military advisor to 3 GOP senators, says this is all pretty a serious matter.
The information related to future military operations is the essence of classified information. It is difficult for me to imagine anything more classified than that.
511, a man who allegedly made what authorities are saying a targeted attack at a Tesla dealership in Las Vegas under arrest today. Las Vegas Police Sheriff Dory Karen detailing the incident.
As you've seen before and as you've probably heard, and certainly as we're showing today, he attempted to mask his identity by wearing black attire, concealing his face, and wearing gloves. The suspect then began shooting the surveillance cameras with what appeared to be a rifle.
Paul Kim charged with arson, possessing an explosive device. 5 vehicles damaged, and police say they believe the same person who set the fires also fired gunshots into some of the cars. The word resist was spray painted onto the Tesla's center front doors.
Once he finishes spray painting the words resist on the doors, he then approaches multiple Tesla vehicles that were parked in the front of the center. He proceeded to shoot into each vehicle and used a Molotov cocktail to set the vehicles on fire. But a preliminary assessment of the suspect's social media activity indicates some very loose but self-proclaimed ties to the Communist Party USA social media group, as well as social media groups called Revolutionary Communists International.
Yeah, well, that's not shocking. Meanwhile, authorities down in Florida looking for somebody who vandalized 3 Teslas in a shopping center parking lot. This was in Bradenton.
Their cars had significant scratches down the sides of their vehicles.
Yeah, they say there's enough for a felony mischief charge.
2 of the vehicles had about $3,000 worth of damage, and there was $1,000 worth of damage to the third car.
You know, I saw this TikTok video yesterday, somebody driving around in a Tesla, and he had replaced whatever is on the back of the car that suggests it's a Tesla, and he put a Toyota plate over it, which I thought was funny, but sad that he has to do that.
We would treat this the same way we would if, this person had damaged a Mini Cooper or a Ford F-150.
And Elon Musk, of course, who owns Tesla, if you did not know, that says he doesn't think he'll be working at the Department of Government Efficiency much longer.
We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week.
And all that work is some of the reason he's getting that blowback on his Tesla cars, ever since, of course, he aligned himself with the president. 130 days legal time frame given to a special government employee to stay on the job. He believes he can cut the deficit by $1 trillion within that time that started in November.
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame.
Yeah. 514, President Trump says he's asking his nominee for U.S. ambassador to the United Nations to stay in Congress. Trump says it's essential that New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik stay in the House as Republicans need every seat they can get. And Texas Senator John Cornyn agrees with the president and the White House.
Elise Stefanik should be congratulated by putting the greater good ahead of her personal ambition.
Cornyn serves on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, which conducted Stefanik's confirmation hearing back in January.
I also join her and the Speaker and others wanting to make sure that we can get President Trump's agenda passed through the House of Representatives with a razor-thin margin.
The president says Stefanik has been vital to pushing forward his administration's agenda. He wants to keep her here. Now, of course, the question is, who will he replace her with? 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Friday. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Friday. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Feeling pretty good going into this Friday morning after my Yankees. They're 1-0 at the stadium yesterday.
Yeah, undefeated, yeah.
Beating the Milwaukee Brewers. Just 161 more wins to go. No, they beat the Milwaukee Brewers in opening day yesterday, 4-2 at the stadium. Austin Wells hit a leadoff home run. First time the Yankees have ever slotted a catcher into the leadoff slot, and he made a statement very, very quickly. 2-0 count, sent a shot right into the right field seats. Anthony Volpe hit a solo shot as well into that right field porch. Aaron Judge had an RBI double that hit the third base bag, and Cody Bellinger capped things off with a sac fly. Carlos Rodon gets the win. 5.1 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 7 Ks, 2 walks, and the save goes to Devin Williams, although Yankees fans did have to sweat out a 36-pitch inning for the new Yankees closer. Game 2 of their opening 3-game set against Milwaukee. That's tomorrow afternoon in the Bronx. First pitch scheduled for 1:05 p.m. with the lefty Max Fried set to make his debut in pinstripes against former Yankee and fellow Southpaw Nestor Cortez. As for the Mets, they fell in Houston by a score of 3-1 to the Astros. Juan Soto singled and walked twice in his Mets debut, but he did strike out with runners on the corners to end the game. Converted reliever Clay Holmes and former Yankee yielded 5 hits and 3 runs, 2 earned, while walking 4 in 2 and a third in 4 and 2/3 innings, I should say. Game 2 of the Mets' opening 3-game series in Houston. That's tonight at 8:10 p.m. with Tyler McGill set to take the hill for New York against Houston's Hunter Brown. Sweet 16 action in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. The final between 1 seed Florida and 4 seed Maryland saw Florida win 87-71 in the West region. Florida move on to play 3 seed Texas Tech in the Elite Eight following Texas Tech's 85-83 win over 10 seed Arkansas last night at the last second. 1 seed Duke beats 4 seed Arizona 100-93. Cooper Flagg, I think, had like 30 points, 30 plus, something like that. So Duke moves on to play 2 seed Alabama in the Elite Eight following Bama's 113-88 win over 6 seed BYU last night. Tonight, more Sweet 16 action to get to. 7:10 tip-off. You get 6 seed Ole Miss versus 2 seed Michigan State. Michigan State, they're 3.5-point favorites. 7:40 p.m. tip. You get 3 seed Kentucky versus 2 seed Tennessee. Tennessee, they're 4.5-point favorites. At 9:40 tonight, 5 seed Michigan against 1 seed Auburn. Auburn, there 8.5-point favorites. And finally, 4 seed Purdue and 1 seed Houston at 10:10 p.m. tonight. Houston, there 8.5-point favorites. That's your sports notes. And I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 519. Federal authorities say a Turkish student who was arrested in Massachusetts this week being detained because she supports Hamas. Secretary of State Marco Rubio defending the decision to detain the student who goes to Tufts.
If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa.
In a statement, a Homeland Security spokesman says their investigation found Rumisa Öztürk was supporting a foreign terrorist organization that they say relishes the killing of Americans and called it grounds for visa issuance to be terminated. Her lawyer, though, maintaining that she has this valid F1 status as a PhD student at Tufts and that no charges have been filed against her that he's aware of or she's aware of.
If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country.
Öztürk is reportedly in custody at an ICE processing center in Louisiana. It might be the same place where Mahmoud Khalil is.
Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that.
521, the FBI says one of the top leaders of MS-13 gang has been arrested in Virginia. This took place yesterday. President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, praising policies from the White House for helping lead to this arrest.
Under President Trump's leadership, we've arrested more criminal foreign fugitives in this country, more criminal illegal aliens in this country in 2 months than Joe Biden did in an entire year. So, game on.
An unidentified 24-year-old taken into custody yesterday morning.
I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes. I think illegal aliens, the most vulnerable, are not going to spend their life savings to hand it to a criminal cartel to come to the United States, knowing we ended catch and release. You're not going to be released in the United States. You're going to be deported immediately. The southern border is down 96%. The northern border is down about 74%. So we got more work to do up there. I've met with the leadership in Canada on 2 different occasions. They are stepping up border enforcement. They're stepping up fentanyl enforcement, but not enough. The president wants more, and we expect more.
WABC News Time 522. President of the United Auto Workers Union says 25% tariffs on foreign-made cars is a step towards ending the free trade disaster.
Sean Fain has been critical of President Trump in the past. This comes after Trump announced the tariffs on automobiles and light trucks imported into the United States beginning April 2nd. Fain noted that progress would also mean union rights for auto workers across the United States. He said the UAW has been clear that it will work with any politician willing to deliver results regardless of party. I'm Brian Shook.
Let's go down to Washington. FAA telling Congress it must do more to ensure flying remains safe after that mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. that killed 67 back on January 29th. The agency's acting commissioner telling a Senate hearing yesterday that we got to be smarter how we use data.
Something was missed at the DCA crash. I take that seriously. I take that upon myself.
Yeah, investigators, in fact, highlighting 85 close calls around Reagan National Airport over the 3 years before the crash.
Something was missed, and since that time, we've been using new tools available to us, artificial intelligence, machine learning.
Yeah, he says they have to do a much better job. While we're down in Washington, a Capitol Hill hearing on Thursday looking into the growing problem of anti-Semitism on college campuses.
Jewish students continue to find virtually every aspect of U.S. campus life increasingly hostile, not merely to their views, but to the very core of who they are as Jews.
Carly Gamble, she's with the Los Angeles-based Stand With Us Center for Combating Anti-Semitism. She was telling senators yesterday that college administrators have been ignoring the problem for years.
Rallies not only distort and demonize Jewish identity, but also often include harassment, intimidation, violence, and threats of violence, which are no part of freedom of speech.
And Gamble telling the senators yesterday that the attacks on Jewish students are not a matter of left versus right, but instead wrong versus right.
We must put an end to the political weaponization of Jewish identity and unify around the reality that anti-Semitism is causing real harm to real human beings.
Yes, so the hearing coming, of course, as President Trump announced a couple weeks back that he would cut $400 million in federal funding to Columbia University over the fact that it failed to protect Jewish students on campus. 5:25, Vice President Vance's wife changing their plans for this week's trip to Greenland. Correspondent Molly Hunter reports from Greenland that in a move meant to appease Denmark, Vance and the Second Lady will visit a U.S. space base tomorrow.
There will be no grand welcome in the Capitol. No American flags flying, no photo ops with locals. They're not going to that national dog sled race that originally we thought that Second Lady Usha Vance was going to go to.
Usha Vance was scheduled to visit Greenland's capital, heritage sites, and a national dog sled race before the vice president announced this week that he'd be joining her.
They are now going to fly to the remote Northwest to a space base. They will meet with about 150 U.S. military personnel who are based there, and that's been there for about 75 years. It is the first line of defense for Russian or Chinese, for example, ballistic missiles coming across the Arctic.
From Greenland, we come back to the States, go down to New Mexico, where the bodies of a legendary actor and his wife are still at the morgue today.
Gene Hackman and his wife's bodies were found in late February inside their home in New Mexico. TMZ is reporting that the bodies are still unclaimed, but officials also say it's not totally unusual for bodies to be unclaimed while family is possibly making funeral arrangements. Hackman had said he had a difficult relationship with his kids and he wasn't around much while they were growing up. Hackman's wife died from hantavirus, and the actor died from heart disease and advanced Alzheimer's disease. I'm Lisa Taylor.
WABC News Time 526. A noted anti-vaccine activist has been tapped to head a federal study on autism. Public health experts blasting the appointment of David Geer, saying that his claims about a link to immunizations have long been debunked.
1998, there was the Lancet paper. The scientific community debunked it thoroughly with large epidemiologic studies.
Baylor infectious disease expert Dr. Peter Hotez there telling a meeting this week at Rice University that has been trying to reason with vaccine skeptics for years, and he says they refuse to listen to verified studies. Geer is one of these ones who signs on to one of these studies out of London that suggested there was a connection to autism and people having shots. Now, it's been debunked by almost everybody else in the science community.
Showing that kids who got the MMR vaccine were no more likely to acquire autism than kids who didn't. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came on the scene in 2005 and wrote an article in that well-known biomedical journal called Rolling Stone.
Yeah, so he says he's fighting this appointment. He says it's ridiculous to tie autism to vaccines.
Talk Radio 77 WABC. It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5:35. Good morning. It is Friday, March 28th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Going to see some showers this morning. Overcast this afternoon, but warmer. The high going to be 62. And then Saturday, it's going to be like summer. Saturday, sunshine, high 81. And then we return to normal spring-like temperatures on Sunday, at least early spring-like temperatures. It'll be cloudy, high 52. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 45 cloudy in Islip out on Long Island. It is 43 and partly cloudy in Trenton, my hometown over in New Jersey. And it's 45 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. If the weather allows, which it looks like it will, we will see a crescent sunrise tomorrow morning. A partial solar eclipse will take place. Now, you need to get up early. The sun will briefly look like a crescent as the moon moves between the earth and the sun. The moon will not completely cover the sun. It'll cover about 30%, but apparently it'll look pretty damn cool. All of this will begin what about 6:44 a.m. sunrise? The peak happens a few minutes later around 6:47. And from that point on, the moon will start to then move away from the sun. The eclipse comes to an end at about 7:04 a.m. So you're talking about, about an 18-minute window that you have to catch all of this. Now, I know I probably shouldn't have to say this, but you're not supposed to stare at the sun, especially when it comes to one of these solar eclipses. So you need the special glasses or, like a spaghetti strainer. That'll help you. If you don't have those special glasses, you threw them out from last year. A spaghetti strainer will work. Regular sunglasses, not a good idea. You could potentially really damage your eyes. But anyway, it all starts 6:44 a.m. tomorrow morning. And from all what we can tell, the weather looks like it's going to be perfect for us. So if you're up early, check it out. WABC News Time 5:39. Emergency dispatchers. Elected officials holding a rally outside one police plaza yesterday. They claim they're critically understaffed and forced into overtime and don't have access to good mental health resources.
We're screaming for help, and we need everyone's support. We sacrifice our families and our own personal lives to make sure that every New Yorker receives the same amount of fair treatment when they have their own emergency. But there's no one coming for our emergency.
Yeah, they are looking for more money. They say they're underpaid. They say they're understaffed, overworked. Union members, elected officials rallying, calling on Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch to address their concerns.
It's horrendous. We have an excessive multitude of overtime where we work 4 days of 16-hour shifts. When it's excessive, sometimes they'll ask for people to work more than 16-hour shifts.
NYPD put out a statement after this rally yesterday. They say 911 operators are essential in keeping New York safe and that the NYPD is facing a staffing crisis and recruitment efforts remain a priority. 5:40. Police searching for a group of bicycle riders wanted for stealing headphones from people's heads throughout Manhattan. The thefts all taking place over the course of one day last week. This was between 4:15 in the afternoon and 7 at night. This group riding up to their victims on bicycles, grabbing headphones right off their heads and then riding off. Now, we saw something similar to this happen last year at NYU. Remember when those really expensive $600 headphones came out? Well, you had a lot of NYU students wearing them, and what was happening? Same thing. Mopeds would ride up right behind them, motorized bikes, grab them, and keep on riding. Well, that's apparently what has been happening here. In fact, one of the victims speaking to Eyewitness News, her name is Emily Rella. She says she was wearing headphones that she says cost about $600. She said it was a Christmas gift from her dad. She was walking along Jane Street in the West Village around 4 p.m. when she says two men on bikes pulled up right behind her.
There were two men in black hoods that had stopped on the sidewalk for me so that I couldn't step off the sidewalk. And as that happened, another one came behind me and grabbed my headphones off of my head from behind.
Yeah, you have to be quick to be able to react to something like that. And of course, then you have to say, well, is it really worth chasing after somebody who might have a knife or a gun over headphones?
He zoomed on past me. Those two took off. And then about 20 seconds later, three more people on bikes came came flooding through.
Yeah, she said convinced that second group that came through was there in case something went wrong when they were stealing the headphones. If someone fought back, then this second group would come in and they'd have more people to fight that person off. In her case, though, she said, well, okay, headphones gone, and thankfully she wasn't hurt.
I remember yelling and screaming about 10 seconds after it happened because my brain was still trying to process what had happened.
Man, the cops telling us they're looking for the suspects who they say carried out copycat robberies that same day. This was on St. Patrick's Day, actually, over the course of roughly 3 hours. And they were going for these over-the-ear noise-canceling headphones that are incredibly popular targets. If you know the headphones, I mean, you can't miss them. And that $600 price tag, of course, you can resell them somewhere, make some money.
Every time I'm walking, if I see someone on a bike or whatever the last week or so, I jump.
Yeah, she says she's still nervous to be walking the streets. Of course, they did capture one of these jerks, but they're still looking for 5 more of them. The devastated family of a 16-year-old boy who was shot and killed on his way home from school on Wednesday speaking out. Remember this story? This is Sincere Jasmine, who had just gotten off a Q83 bus after school with another teenager on Wednesday when that second teenager pulled out a gun and shot and killed him. They haven't found that teenager yet, but the family's speaking out, saying they're just left devastated by Sincere Jasmine's death. Here are some of his friends who can't believe he's gone.
I don't even know how to feel. I feel numb. But he was a gentleman. He was sweet, he was always there for his friends, anybody who he loved, he was always there for them. He was very genuine, loyal.
Now, investigators believe the gunfire is linked to an ongoing dispute in the high school, so they know who they're looking for. They've released pictures of him, but they haven't been able to find the gunman. Now, after Sincere was shot on Thursday afternoon after school, he actually walked for an entire block. He shot in the chest to Liberty Avenue, where he asked people inside Bodega for help. As they were getting him for help, unfortunately, he collapsed and died. His aunt yesterday says the family is beside themselves.
We call him Boo-Boo. All he do is smile all the time. Just quiet, nice, young boy. All he does is smile.
Yeah, and relatives say they're just sick and tired of the gunfire that has become all too common among city teenagers. And now, of course, they lost their loved one.
I don't understand these young people in this world today. All this is kill, 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 kill. What's wrong with them? You had a beef with somebody, you talk it out. Why you got to go gun violence, this thing have to stop. They have to take these guns off the street.
Boy, that's really tough to hear. They say the shooting stemmed from an ongoing dispute at John Adams High School. There's an active search now to find the person who pulled the trigger. They say the gunman, well, they give a description. It doesn't really matter. They know who he is. They just haven't been able to find him. And you can see a picture of him, by the way, by surfing over to WABCRadio.com. 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noel Maladen. Start here with opening day action across the MLB. Locally here, the Yanks, they bested the Brewers in Game 1 of 162. Final score 4-2 from Yankee Stadium. Austin Wells hit a leadoff home run. It's the first time the Yankees have ever had a catcher leading off in their starting lineup. Anthony Volpe added a solo shot. Aaron Judge an RBI double off the bag at third. And Cody Bellinger wrapped things out with a sacrifice fly. The W goes to Carlos Rodon, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 7 Ks, 2 walks, and a save. Devin Williams, the newly acquired Yankees closer from the Milwaukee Brewers, gets his first save for the Yanks against his former team. He did have to sweat out a 36-pitch inning, though. Up next, Game 2 of their opening 3-game set for the Yanks against Milwaukee tomorrow afternoon in the Bronx. First pitch is scheduled for 1:05 p.m. with the lefty Max Fried set to make his debut in pinstripes against former Yankee and fellow southpaw Nestor Cortez. For the Mets, they weren't as lucky, falling 3-1 in Houston to the Astros on day one. Juan Soto singled and walked twice, I should say, in his Mets debut, but he did strike out with runners on the corners to end the game. Converted reliever Clay Holmes yielded 5 hits and 3 runs, 2 earned, while walking 4 in 4 2/3 innings of work. Up next for the Mets, Game 2 of their opening 3-game series in Houston tonight at 8:10 p.m. with Tyler McGill set to take the hill for New York against Houston's Hunter Brown. Sweet 16 action for the NCAA men's basketball tournament. 1 seed Florida beating 4 seed Maryland 87-71. They'll move on to play 3 seed Texas Tech in the Elite Eight following Texas Tech's 85-83 win over 10 seed Arkansas last night. 1 seed Duke beats 4 seed Arizona 100-93 behind Cooper Flag. Duke moves on to play 2 seed Alabama in the Elite Eight following Bama's 113-88 win over 6 seed BYU last night. Looking ahead to Sweet 16 action tonight, kicking us off at 7:10 p.m. tonight. It'll be 6 seed Ole Miss against 2 seed Michigan State. Michigan State there 3.5-point favorites before 3 seed Kentucky and 2 seed Tennessee go head to head. 2 seed Tennessee there 4.5-point favorites in that one. Thereafter 5 seed Michigan against 1 seed Auburn. Auburn there 8.5-point favorites. And wrapping things out tonight for the Sweet 16, it's 4 seed Purdue against 1 seed Houston. Houston there 8.5-point favorites in that one. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Thank you very much, Justin. 547 traffic, transit on the 7s. Here's Joe Nolan.
Well, from the RayCatina.com traffic desk, we have a big problem out on 78 on the westbound side, right around exit 13. An overturned tractor trailer. 2 right lanes are out of service. There's a down pole. Apparently, this guy was carrying recycled cardboard. That now is
How do we know it's recycled cardboard as opposed to just regular cardboard?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
That's just what was reported.
Sorry.
Recycled.
I don't know why I asked such stupid questions.
Did they actually go up to the truck and look at it? I have no idea.
Right.
Maybe
Sorry.
the state police told. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You can keep going. I apologize.
Okay, no worries. No worries. Northbound on the Garden State Parkway, north of exit 172 on the New York State.
I mean, it's dark out. You would think it'd be hard to tell if it's recycled or not.
It's going to haunt me all morning long now. Is it really, let's just call it debris all over the place. There.
Right, okay,
easier
that
way.
works.
All right.
WABC News Time 549. Want to update you on this earthquake we told you about earlier this morning. A powerful 7.7 Richter scale earthquake hitting Myanmar and Thailand, bringing down buildings, bridges, triggering fears of mass casualties. We're looking at some footage. It shows, and you will see this before the day is out, I'm sure, 30-story skyscraper plunging to the ground in the Thai capital. It's sending people running from clouds of smoke and debris. Emergency services there scrambling to rescue, they say, at least 43 people that are trapped in the rubble there, with 2 for sure dead in that collapse. So far, 7 others have been rescued. In Myanmar, local media say at least 10 worshippers have been killed in a mosque there at the epicenter of the earthquake. Of course, there have been some intense aftershocks. And as more information, of course, comes in about this earthquake, we will pass them on to you. Let's bring it back home and out to Long Island, where it's going to be a tough day in Deer Park today. A community mourning the loss of former Wyandanch Fire Chief and retired Suffolk County Police Detective Jack Miller. Miller, who died at the age of 75 last week, he was allegedly killed by his adult son, shot to death. There was an emotional farewell that unfolded at his wake in a Babylon funeral home yesterday, where members of both the fire services and the police department gathering to honor his legacy.
It's a very difficult time right now. We lost a brother. We lost a father figure, a friend. He was there for the community. He believed in the community. He believed in the fire department. He worked hard for the fire department. Every call, he was there.
Miller, just this beloved member of the community. I mean, how much more can you say about somebody who during the day is a Suffolk County detective and at night volunteers and on weekends with the local fire department? I mean, you can't say a whole lot more about somebody. Suffolk County Police Department says that they're going to have officers there today at his funeral in Deer Park.
He just cared about everybody, whether you were a neighbor or a friend or a co-worker on the police department or a member of the fire department. Jack was the kind of guy who was always there for you. And that's why everybody's here for Jack and his family.
Yeah, Miller's funeral going to be held this morning in Deer Park. Heavy traffic expected near the Methodist Roman Catholic Church. The service starts at 9:30, ends at 11:30. Meanwhile, his son, 43-year-old Christopher Miller, facing 1 count of second-degree murder. 5:51, lawyers for the Justice Department and detained Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil due in Newark federal court this morning to argue whether his petition for release should be held. A federal judge here in New York, where Khalil was arrested, moved the case to New Jersey, where Khalil was taken. Now, lawyers for the Justice Department want the case moved to Louisiana, where Khalil is currently being held. His attorneys want the challenge to the detention to remain in New Jersey, which is closer to his wife, who's about to give birth. Mahmoud Khalil born in Syria to a Palestinian family, has said in a statement that his detention reflects anti-Palestinian racism in the U.S. Khalil is among a half a dozen international students who have supported Palestinians to be detained by the administration in recent weeks. No charges have been filed, by the way, against any of them. 552, New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik will not be the next ambassador to the UN.
Trump says he needs Stefanik in Congress, saying he can't spare her vote in the House. Trump writing on Truth Social, quote, I've asked Elise to remain in Congress to help me deliver historic tax cuts, great jobs, record economic growth, a secure border, energy dominance, peace through strength, and much more, so we can make America great again. Trump writing that it's essential that all Republican seats be maintained. The House margin is tight, with just a 218 to 213 majority. The GOP can afford to lose just 2 votes on any party line bill, and Trump says he can't take a chance on losing Stefanik to the UN. Jeff McKinney, 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:53, down to New Jersey. 5 people hurt in that school bus crash yesterday, the one we were telling you about all morning in Wall Township. It was a minibus on its side. It did not look good. One of the students was in serious condition. The bus was headed to Communications High School, where students there knew something was up because all of a sudden teachers started talking to one another.
Someone just randomly said, oh my God, one of our buses flipped over. And I was like, what? I remember just my teacher looking very distant. The principal came in at one point. And then finally our teacher said that, the bus had flipped over. There were a couple people in the hospital.
Now, the accident did involve one other vehicle. 5 people taken to an area hospital. 1 child sustained serious injuries. The driver of the van not hurt. The bus was just about 10 minutes away from the school when this accident took place.
It's a very, very close-knit community, so it's really scary to find out that someone, you're going to a pretty small school with is pretty seriously hurt.
Yeah, so far we have not gotten a new update on that one child that was in the hospital with serious injuries. No word of any charges against the drivers involved in this accident. 5:54, let's bring it back here into New York. New York State hiring federal workers that have been fired.
It's part of Governor Kathy Hochul's You're Hired campaign.
In fact, we love federal workers. Whatever your skills, we value public service. Check out potential jobs at ny.gov/we-want-you. Come join our New York State family.
The governor says so far the state has received more than 1,300 applications over the last 3 weeks and has already hired more than 24 workers who were fired. The state has about 7,000 job openings from engineers to healthcare to technology and many other fields. The State Department of Labor also offering free career development webinars for laid-off workers. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
You can take a train, a cab, even a bus to Kennedy Airport, but getting to LaGuardia is a whole different story.
Governor Kathy Hochul, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and the MTA are hoping to get $160 million in funding to improve bus service to LaGuardia Airport. They want to see better service on the Q70 LaGuardia Link bus line that connects the airport with the subway in Jackson Heights and the Long Island Railroad and subway in Woodside. It would include a new bus pickup and drop-off area near Terminal C and an exclusive bus lane on the shoulder of the northbound BQE between Northern Boulevard and Astoria Boulevard. A vote on the proposal is set to take place Thursday. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
Let's go out to the town of Brookhaven out on Long Island. They're going to go to these new lengths to protect local wildlife there, specifically frogs, from becoming roadkill during the breeding season, which is now. Officials have installed a tunnel under a busy road that'll allow animals to safely cross and connect to nearby tidal pools. It's already done. The construction's done, and apparently it's working.
People care about frogs. People care about turtles. It's sort of what we learn in elementary school.
Frogs are just kind of a symbol of, the natural world of nature and wildlife.
This is a 25-foot tunnel beneath the roadway in Middle Island. The tunnel allows frogs, chipmunks, raccoons, other animals to cross from one side of the road to the other. People in Brookhaven just getting tired of having these animals hit by cars.
They wanted to go for one pot during the breeding season, and they would just have to cross the road.
You could have a big movement in a night, and you could have hundreds of these spring peepers. They're the size of your thumb that are getting run over.
Yeah, so the good part, it didn't cost a whole lot to build this tunnel. It's about 25 feet long, $40,000. And one of the people involved in this project, they put a camera into the tunnel, and that's been kind of cool because they initially built this for frogs, but all kinds of animals are using it.
You put the fencing in, that forces them to use the tunnel. They they will.
If you're a frog and you're hopping towards the road, you're going to hit the fence. So you follow the fence line until it leads you to the tunnel. I did add a wildlife camera once we got everything installed, just to kind of see what was using it and how often it was being used. So in addition to frogs that are happily going through it, we've had, I think, 15 different species. We got raccoons, possum, chipmunks, rabbits, all sorts of things.
Yeah, kind of cool. It's the first of its kind tunnel. They think it'll inspire other communities across the country to do the same thing.